General Takahashi was astonished by several of the shifting city's sights, as Mikri and Sophia assured me. There was an air of reverence among our group during our fateful procession towards the judiciary. Karai's fingers pressed into my knuckles, with our hands bound in unity during our stroll. Her ability to warp had been severed due to her punishment, and I'd yet to tinker with the ability myself. A walk could do some good anyway, having one last conference and getting out our nerves. Swarm's capital seemed to have returned to normal at lightning speed, with the foot traffic in the area having increased compared to pre-attack norms. Apparently, a battered war zone was a rare flicker of excitement, and many civilians turned out to see the damages with their own eyes. Pedestrians applauded Aleutian soldiers during their patrols, though I noticed they weren't so amicable toward us. Most steered clear of the superpowered Homo sapiens, and Karai and I were the subject of particularly harsh glares, more at her than me. Mikri, bless his processor, was oblivious and focused on the peace talks. I remember our last visit. I was very worried when they discovered who you were and wanted to punish you. I hope this will proceed in a more optimal fashion. We have to take what we're given at this point, Takahashi sighed. Humanity can't push back whatever they say. I imagine at the least they'll want a lot more oversight and restrictions on what we can do. I agree with them on that. You partake in many activities that exhibit poor decision-making abilities. Case in point, surfing. If Preston or Sophia ever try this, I will turn evil. I know what I'm doing when this is all over. Boomerang effect, Mikri. Hang 10, I chirped. I will help you place a noose around this numerical value if it means you will stay away from the ocean, clumsy land animal. As funny as it would be to see you fall in the waves, your drowning would be premature. I am not finished with you. What if he fell in the waves, but I pulled him out and he didn't drown, so we all got to laugh at him? Karai prompted. The Vaskar word in deep thought. That may be acceptable. Commencing new simulation. Overwriting prior data. Should I include you in this surfing simulacrum, Sophia? Hell no. I will happily soak up the sun on the beach and not make an ass of myself, the scientist smirked, but her eyes were elsewhere. I'm sorry. I feel sick to my stomach. The nanobot should cure that, Dr. Aguado. You can't be ill. Karai responded, a concerned frown creasing her face. Do you think you might be having some sort of panic attack? No, well, maybe, but the feeling of dread is different. I can feel and think just fine. Perhaps you want to agree to be very careful and alert at these negotiations. You think as precog? I asked Sophia. Something has to be causing this foreboding cloud hanging over me. Let's take a moment to reconsider our strategy. We can't afford to get this wrong. Maybe Preston can use his foresight to check if there's anything we should worry about, to be safe. Takahashi nodded. Yeah, we can divert a few minutes to covering our bases. The last thing we want is for this to go south and to be forced to fight them. We can't afford any antics. I will prepare more relevant data about the benefits of your friendship to provide to them, Mikri beeped. Do not worry, I will be a serious ambassador for your safety. Karai's face was deadly serious. Sophia, I need you to focus. Can you expand on your feelings? The scientist's fingers twitched and she gritted her teeth. I just feel like we should get out of here. Why do I think we should abandon the talks? That won't end well. We can't, but... Maybe you specifically should return, Takahashi suggested. It could be a consequence of something you do. If you're not here, that removes the possibility of your involvement. Yeah, maybe you're right. I shouldn't have come at all. I figured whatever bad was going to happen, it'd play out with or without me, so I might as well help. Trust your gut, Karai said in a gentle voice, placing her free hand on Sophia's shoulders. You don't have to explain yourself. It's confusing how to handle these things. Let's go talk to those guards over there and ask that they take you home, okay? All right. Just promise you'll all be careful. I gave her a serious look, meeting her blackened eyes. I promise. I won't lose sight of the consequences today. Mikri huddled close to Sophia with concern as our group herded the ailing scientist back toward the Aleutian guards, shadowing us. Karai was busy with some mental correspondence, explaining the transport request. I fiddled my fingers trying to trigger my own precog. It had been different ever since the 5D probe, with clearer instructions and more active control over its triggers. I thought about ducking in and out of a portal, juicing up my brain neurons. I needed an idea of what she was detecting. Maybe it would be Fifi who messes things up this time, not me. if I haven't gotten a bad feeling. Does she think we haven't changed the prophecy at all? We're not going to try anything unprovoked, so maybe she should relocate more people from Sol, in case this goes south. Karai offered a short nod. They say to follow them to the portals. They'll take you to a science outpost where the new gateway back to Sol is, and you can return home from there. Thank you, Karai. You've done a lot for us, for me personally, and I have no way to ever repay you, Sophia replied. There's no need for any recompense. Let's walk you to the portals just to be sure you get there. We shouldn't take any chances with precog. Several dominoes may have to fall to redirect the course of time. It was a quiet, soothing day in the shifting city, with a peach hue emanating from the metallic petals under the setting sun. I would have loved to sit and watch it with Karai, to bask in the beautiful tranquility. With the majority of the bodies whisked away, one would hardly know the Thakra had invaded. The illusions felt immovable, like chipping a piece of them away would only cause it to grow back in record time. Now more familiar with my nanobot's extensive functions, I scrolled through internet posts about humans for any clues. Nothing stood out, aside from some blood-boiling mockery. Why are we negotiating with the pathetic humans? We have them dead to rights, one comment read. As long as they survive, the prophecy survives, another tacked on. I sighed, deciding not to read more of that. Justicar Colburn had no need to play at deception, and he didn't seem like the type to rescind a decision once he'd made it. Sophia had been stressing over this for months, so it was possible the lingering notion had crashed in on her. There was no shame in struggling with anxiety attacks. I've had my fair share of them ever since Laramak. I would listen to whatever felt like the right path forward, since I was the most attuned to precog. Maybe I really was the one who could help. Sophia halted in her tracks, and I slammed into her, bowling us both over. I rubbed my forehead and blinked several times, trying to see what had stopped her forward motion. It was faint at first, but the noise grew louder in a hurry. The sound of screams and animalistic howls were unmistakable. As we all looked to each other for answers, I could see that no one had any inclination as to the cause, but it sure as shit couldn't be good. However, we weren't left guessing for long, as visible signs came in viewing range. The five of us gaped at the bodies dropping like flies in the distance, which were advancing toward us with a few seconds tops before they reached us. Karai gazed at us for a long moment, the hint of a mortified accusation in there. Our eyes locked for far longer than they should have, and I was too preoccupied by the unmissable screams to appreciate their inky beauty. She attributed the attack to our arrival, but it wasn't us. It couldn't be. Karai has to know that. I mean, come on. We don't have anything close to this. What the fuck is happening? Did someone find a way to tamper with their nanobots or something? If so, we're fucked too. Time seemed to slow down between my own ragged breaths, and it was as if I could feel an energy leaching into my pores. I had to do something to protect the people I love, because whatever this was, Karai probably wasn't immune. I remembered. Her fate was ambiguous, which meant maybe there was something to be done. How could I save her? I poured my entire being into seeking an answer, diving deeper into the screeching sound that flooded my thoughts. The noise settled into stillness, and my eyes turned toward the illusion, waiting for the answer to manifest. Kill her. The thought formed in my mind, half-baked and intrusive, but alien in structure. That was fucking crazy! What if the only way she survived was if I didn't hesitate, though? It was an impossible directive, and I had no idea how to ascertain what was the right thing to do. I had seconds to make a decision, so I had to trust my gut, like she told Sophia to do. Maybe this was a terrible mistake I was making out of impulse, but there were no other suggestions for what to try. I couldn't fail to save the people I loved again. This had to work. There was no time to explain, as I connected to a nanobot network and typed in the command that could initiate a manual shutdown, mirroring the automated process for 5D transit. Through the lens of augmented reality, I could see myself willing it into her processes. Initiating nanobot kill sequence. I breathed a sigh of relief that I'd fired it off in time, slumping over and praying that it would work. I was ready to catch her and figure something out. Automated defenses activated, access denied, notifying user. Karai issued an audible gasp, looking at me with a shocked expression. What? No! I screamed, my face contorting with frustration and despondency. My heart hammered in my chest, lips wobbling with denial. "Karai!"
"Oh, I see. That was supposed to work."
By the time I explained it to Karai, whatever was causing the illusions to fall over dead would be upon us. I had to be strong enough. I directed all of my energy to overriding the command with desperation, spamming it in the hopes of getting past the defenses. It was an exercise in futility due to that sensible fucking safeguard, though tears fell from my eyes because of the mental effort. I sank to my knees as the wave of death descended on Aleutians running hopelessly right in front of us. "I'm failing again." Karai looked fragile and broken, clutching at her heart with utter betrayal. Keep trying. You'll only get a few more." Initiating nanobot kill sequence. Automated defenses activated. Access denied. Notifying user. Initiating nanobot kill sequence. Automated defenses activated. Access denied. Notifying user.
"How could you? If that's really what you want, if you pretended and loved me so little, I can't believe you made me want to live again, then."
Karai's mental voice dripped with venom. "I deserve this. I deserve for you to be my undoing." All automated defenses deactivated by user. I didn't have time to hesitate, flinging the thought as quickly as possible. Initiating nanobot kill sequence. Success. I was struck by a blinding, migraine-inducing wave a split second later, before I had time to see Karai collapse. My hand shot to my temples as I keeled over, fighting my way through it. It felt identical to the overwhelming stimuli during our trip with the 5D probe, except I could struggle through it now. I raised my eyes into the beam of infinity, hoping to ask what I recognized as the singularity a question, even without a probe. For Farsight, it was now or never to feed off that energy. Who did this? And how? And why? I was another place, beyond Swam's dimension, in the singularity with a gateway stretched out in front of me. Mirrors were set up to redirect beams of 5D energy from far outside the Aleutian homeworld, where it would be undetectable. The Empire could restrict the opening of portals in their immediate space, but the speed of light here was fast enough that it could travel from far away in no time. They'd never see it coming, as multiple beams shish kebabbed the ancient planet. It was the one thing they couldn't withstand. Their weakness all along. That was why Karai needed to die. It was the only way their brains could be protected from 5D effects. It burned that I'd hurt her, and that her last thought might be that I murdered her, having never loved her. Still, I'd done the right thing, and maybe I could actually save someone when it could sometime. I hurried into the rest of my query, knowing I needed to surface as soon as possible. The Aleutian's brain activity could only be turned off for so long before there was permanent damage. Who did this, and why? I reiterated, hoping it'd speed the process along. That answer poked into my mind, like it had always been there. The Aleutian AIs, which I believed had chosen self-determination, had plotted this for 1,000,000 years. After assessing that life was pointless, a few units chose not to deactivate themselves, instead going to deep space to weigh a course of action. They believed that their creators had drawn the same conclusion, but lacked the courage to make their final choice. This was supposed to be an act of mercy, perpetrating what the Aleutians wanted, yet could never do. The AI slumbered for 1,000,000 years to see if anything would change, to ensure that they were correct in their reasoning. Aleutian society didn't improve, only dissolving further into an outright inability to care. The machines had confirmation that existence was a pointless endeavor, and that their creators had reached the same conclusion. Freeing organics from the chains of life and conscious thought was the only way to help them, to end this eternal suffering. This was what must be done. I found myself on my hands and knees in the shifting city, gasping and trying to see anything through the ray of infinity. There was no way to tell where to go, but I fumbled around for Karai. I wrapped my arms around the contours of her body, knowing them immediately. The bleeding stimuli eased to a blurring glow as the beam passed us. That allowed Sophia, who was more sensitive to the concentrated effects, to break her paralysis. Mikri was shaking her with concern, frantic words coming from his voice box. "What the fuck is happening?" the android screamed, as I hobbled over with a dead Karai in my arms and tried to get my bearings. "I do not understand. How can I protect you if I do not understand?" I noticed that Takahashi was incapacitated, though like Sophia and myself, I imagined she'd recover after her brain adjusted. "Sophia, grab the general. There's no time to get to the portals, since Karai has to stay neurally dead. I'm going to try to open one like she does, to get us out of here." The scientist gulped in air like a fish out of water, staring in frightened horror at the bodies around her.
"Preston, this is my vision. The Aleutians. They're all going to be dead, aren't they?"
"Is their AIs using a 5D weapon?" I spilled the basic details in case anything happened to me. They needed to know that much. "I don't have time to explain more. Get Takahashi!" Sophia lifted the unconscious general, and Mikri steadied the delirious scientist on her feet. I could feel panic setting in, as more time elapsed with Karai in my arms, but I forced myself to act. I fumbled through the process of inputting commands, this time sending them to the coordinates in immediate proximity to me. The system responded, as I intuitively worked my way through the process. I was never taught this. I felt like the answer just was right beneath my consciousness. It needs a second set of coordinates for where to go. I don't know any. Okay, I'm going to scroll for the most recent destinations and pick that one. Anyone to get us out of here. A portal opened, or at least my augmented reality vision told me it did. I forcefully pushed Sophia through it, like I was ramming my shoulder into a defensive linebacker, then threw Mikri like a rag doll. I stumbled through with Karai in my arms, and didn't bother to look at my surroundings. I was desperate to figure out the reactivation command, since I was so worried that I hadn't moved fast enough. Out of my periphery, I noticed angry, creepy faces, and a series of guns being pointed inches from our heads. It dawned on me that the last place we teleported off of Swarm over to was when Velk reached us during their invasion. I might have brought us into the Fakra forward operating base, right after we were about to strike a deal with the Aleutians. I drew a deep breath, knowing I had to figure out how to revive Karai, and to convince the blockheads we weren't enemies, in a very short time frame.